Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Thursday, the 30th of January. First off, big shout out, happy birthday to my mom, Ruth Walker. I hope that Dad takes you out for a good meal and that you have a wonderful birthday. Happy birthday. Um, I was listening to the news the other day and hearing a couple of the pundits talking about just sort of some practical stuff. Like they had a psychologist come on actually to talk to folks about how to just deal with what's happening in the world. And one of the things they talked about, there's a couple of them, but one of them I'm going to talk about today was how to get through something. And I don't know about you, but there are many different ways I think about how do you get through something. One of the ways that I classically have enjoyed when I was a teenager and my early 20s was to sleep through it. When in doubt, have a nap. What do you think? When things get too overwhelmed, have a nap. Maybe when you wake up, it will have all been a nightmare, and you wake up, it's all done, over and done. Sometimes, indeed, having a nap is a great way to go because you wake up and you know the answer to a question. It's something, sometimes a nap clarifies the pathways, I guess, and gets rid of the cobwebs and helps you be able to think clearly. But 9 times out of 10, I think having a nap only really delays having to deal with whatever you're facing. There are no ways around things. If we think about it, like we can try to bury our heads in the sand. We can try to dig our way to China and get underneath it. The truth is, the only way through, and this is what the psychologist was talking about, the only way to get around a problem is to go through it. When you find yourself, like for instance, when you're younger and you're at the beach on one day and you're not paying any attention to the weather and you realize that the sun has gone down, the waves are getting higher, and you're standing in the water looking at the beach ahead of you and you're terrified because how do I get there? Panicking does you nothing. Unless you have a surfboard, you're not going to be able to stand on top of the waves. What is the best way to get to the beach? To walk through the water, to fix your eyes on the sand ahead of you and just take one step at a time. If you can't swim it, walk it. But you have to go through it. You have to go through the problem, through the water to get to the beach, to get to the other side of the problem. And as pithy as that sounds, it's true, isn't it? We can spend our time worrying, we can spend our time debating, we can spend our time arguing with people about whose fault is it that we're in this particular situation, or how do we go about this or that or the other thing. The reality is that doesn't really help us. So whether you're thinking about the political situation of the day right now, north or south of the Canadian border, if you're thinking about women's issues or trans people's issues or the cost of things as tariffs are about to be levied, the reality is that we can't change any of those things. They are realities. They are it. They're happening. What we can do is deal with how we get through things. We can choose to sit down and become a blithering idiot, bury our heads in the sand, or recognize that we take a nap and wake up and it's still here and we still have to face all the difficulties. Or we can stand up, straighten our socks, tighten our shoes, and simply walk through the problem. Walk through the situation. Now, the fact is that in the walking, we may discover that other people are doing exactly the same thing we are. Other people are walking through the problem as well. They're walking through the situation. And maybe then we could hold hands with them and gain strength, or lock arms to gain strength. Like when you are walking in water when you're a kid, and go back to my beach analogy, and the waves are coming, do you remember locking arms with one another and realizing that it's harder for the waves to knock you down if there's 2 of you, or 3 of you, or a whole long line of 10 of you? When we walk together, we find we have a greater strength to continue to walk through something. And now, sometimes the holding, linking arms and stuff might mean that we walk en masse, like straight forward, that we have this physical wall of people who are joined together with the right ideas and like-minded situation, and we're going to work together, and we're going to push our way through the situation. There may be times when we recognize that we need to fold that in, still linked, still holding on to each other, but we need somebody there who's going to cut through the situation for us. We're not letting go of their arms. We're not breaking apart. We're just recognizing that sometimes we need someone who's going to lead here. Or sometimes we need our group to come around, sort of flanking the outside and making a circle around. So if you've got a group of people who are working together and they see a problem, it's like, for instance, coming back to the beach. Say you're at the beach and you come out of the water and you see that there's a child being bullied. And you're just a child, and what do? But if you gather with your friends and you link arms and you make a circle around the person who's doing the bullying, you have an extreme amount of power to be able to change that situation for the person who's being bullied. You now have surrounded the problem with people who can problem solve. But the thing is, we still have to make forward motion. We have to make forward movement. If we don't move through the problem will never be dealt with. And that's just the reality of it, whether it's studying for an exam, getting a degree, facing the challenge of speaking to your employee or your employer when it comes time to saying, I think it's my turn to be up for that promotion. Whatever the problem is, we have to be willing to work through the problem and not try to just skirt around it. Because at the end of the day, there really is no skirting around any problem, is there? Because it will still be there. We have to learn how to move through the problem. And I know that sounds awfully Pollyanna. It sounds really unrealistic. But is there ever any other way? When we come face to face with an issue, with a problem, with a person, the best thing we can do to facilitate a positive outcome is to keep on moving, to gather the resources we need, share those resources often, but keep moving forward. Push through the problem. Because any other thing we do, turning our back on it, running away from it, sitting down and trying to ignore it, will not eliminate the problem. The problem can only be eliminated when we cut through the middle of it, when we go right through it and then realize that maybe that problem wasn't as big as we thought, or it was as big as we thought, but diggity, we did it. We had the ability, working together, using our resources, using our noggins, to cut through the problem. Now, some problems are easier than others, and over the next few years, we may find ourselves faced with some really big problems. But if we are willing to do the work of walking through the problem and not just trying to avoid it, we will find ourselves on the other side, and we'll be able to pat ourselves on the back and say, well done, good job, we did it. So whatever problem you're facing today, I encourage you not to run from it, not to be scared of it, to face off with it, be ready for it, take it on, take on the challenge of whatever problem is facing you today. You got this, you really do. And if need be, grab someone to link arms with, and then face that problem together, because together we can do anything. Have a great day. God bless. I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.